Have you ever hung up the phone with a friend and felt strangely drained? As if something inside you had been extinguished during that conversation, even though everything seemed normal on the surface? That feeling you're experiencing now, as you think about it, is your instinct whispering an uncomfortable truth to you. Perhaps right now you're thinking about that person who always comes to mind when you talk about complicated friendships. The one who makes you feel confused, who seems close one day and distant the next. The one with whom you always have the sensation of walking through an emotional minefield without understanding exactly why. You're not crazy. You're not imagining things. What you feel is real. And today you'll discover why your intuition has always been right. Carl Jung said that everything that doesn't rise to consciousness manifests in destiny as fate. In other words, if you don't learn to recognize the signals your unconscious is sending you, you'll continue repeating the same painful patterns. And you, reading these lines, have probably already repeated them too many times. Tell me if you recognize yourself in this scene. You've just received good news, perhaps a promotion, a new love, a personal achievement. You're excited. You want to share it with someone who matters to you. You call that person you consider a close friend. At first, they seem happy for you. But then comes the but. Great, but I hope you can handle it. Fantastic, but you won't let it go to your head, will you? Congratulations, but you know these jobs are very stressful, right? And you, who were flying just a second before, suddenly feel as if someone had punctured your balloon. You find yourself justifying, minimizing your success, feeling almost guilty for being happy. Maybe after that phone call you told yourself, maybe they're right, maybe I'm exaggerating. Or, they're just trying to protect me from disappointment. But that little voice inside you, the one you can never completely silence, kept whispering that something wasn't right. Something very specific is happening to you. You're experiencing what psychologists call systematic diminishment, but you experience it as an emotional punch to the gut that you can't explain. Listen carefully to this fact. Your brain can authentically manage only 150 significant relationships. But your truly intimate circle? That's composed of a maximum of 5 to 10 people. Those people who can call you at 3 in the morning and you answer. Those you do crazy things for. Those who have the power to hurt you deeply precisely because you love them. Now think, who have you put in that circle? And above all, who among them truly deserves it? Because you see, some individuals are masters at infiltrating that sacred circle without ever paying the emotional price that position requires. They're like emotional parasites that feed on your energy, your affection, your loyalty, without ever returning anything authentic. These individuals have developed over time a sophisticated social survival strategy. They've learned to say the right words at the right moment, to show up when it costs little, to offer you crumbs of affection when they sense you might distance yourself. But it's never enough. It's never authentic. It's always calculated. And you, with your big heart, continue to give them the benefit of the doubt. You continue to justify them. You continue to hope they'll change. But inside you, that little voice you can never completely silence continues to whisper that something's wrong. Now, I want you to do a mental experiment. Think about the last time you shared a joy with this person who's coming to mind. How did they react? Not to the words they said, but to how you felt afterward. If you felt celebrated, supported, if your joy grew instead of diminishing, then you're probably thinking of a true friend. But if you felt diminished, if your excitement transformed into doubt, if you ended up apologizing for being happy, then you're thinking exactly of the person I'm talking about. Let me share with you some concrete examples you might recognize. Have you ever had someone who, when you share a success, immediately tells you about someone else who had the same success, but then failed miserably? Oh yes, Marco also got that promotion, but then they fired him after 6 months. Or that person who transforms every victory of yours into an opportunity to talk about themselves. How nice. I once had a similar opportunity too, but I chose not to accept it because... And suddenly the conversation is no longer about you and your joy, but about them and their supposed moral superiority, or those who give you unrequested advice masked as concern. I just hope you don't forget the people who helped you get this far, as if your success were automatically a threat to your humility or your friendship. Susan Fisk's research on social envy explains what happens in these people's brains when you succeed. What neuroscientists call comparative threat is activated. Your success becomes a cruel mirror that reflects their failures, their fears, their deepest insecurities. And instead of doing the inner work necessary to grow, they choose the easier path, diminishing you. They make you feel small to feel less inadequate themselves. They use your vulnerability against you, precisely when you should feel strongest. The cruelest of all these behaviors is that they're often masked as care. I'm telling you because I love you. I wouldn't want you to get your hopes up. I'm just trying to protect you. But true protection never diminishes another's joy. True love always celebrates, even when it hurts our ego. What's happening at a psychological level is a process Jung called shadow projection. These people have parts within themselves they can't accept. Perhaps their envy, their inadequacy, their fear of failure. Instead of recognizing and working on these aspects, they project them onto you. When they tell you don't let it go to your head, they're actually projecting onto you their fear of being arrogant. When they warn you that success changes people, they're expressing their fear of not being strong enough to handle success. You become the container for their unresolved fears. And this explains why, after talking with them, you always feel a bit more insecure, a bit smaller, a bit more doubtful of your abilities. But the deepest betrayal comes in your dark moments, those when the world seems to be crashing down on you, and you desperately need a friendly voice, a shoulder to cry on, someone tell you everything will be okay. It's in those moments you discover who the people around you really are. That's where true friends separate from emotional vampires. Do you remember the last time you went through a difficult period? Maybe you lost your job, or had health problems, or an important relationship ended. Who was there? And above all, who wasn't there? Who suddenly became unreachable? Who found 1,000 excuses not to help you? Who made their presence disappear precisely when you needed it most? Let me describe some of their typical behaviors. There's the one who responds to your messages with increasingly longer delays, until they stop responding completely. There's the one who tells you, I'm so sorry, but I'm just swamped with work right now. There's the one who changes the subject every time you try to open your heart. And then there's the most subtle of all, the one who listens to your problems but minimizes them. Come on, it's not that serious. You'll see, everything will work out. There are people who are worse off than you, as if your pain were an inconvenience to their emotional tranquility. Shelley Taylor's research tells us that social support during crises isn't a luxury. It's a biological necessity. Your body, when you suffer, releases stress hormones that can literally make you sick. Elevated cortisol for prolonged periods can compromise your immune system, cause insomnia, depression, heart problems. Authentic support from a friend can lower these levels, strengthen your immune system, accelerate your emotional healing. It's not just a matter of feelings, it's a matter of physical and mental health. False friends know this instinctively, and they choose to deny it to you precisely when you need it most. Not because they're monsters, but because your suffering confronts them with their own deepest fears. Your vulnerability forces them to look at their own fragility, and this terrifies them. They prefer the easy version of you, the one that entertains them, makes them feel important, asks nothing in return. When you become complicated, when you need real emotional support, when you require an authentic investment of their energy, They disappear like vampires at sunrise. Now that you've recognized these two signals, you're probably starting to see a pattern. In your moments of joy, this person diminishes you. In your moments of pain, they disappear. It's as if they're allergic to your authenticity, both when you're happy and when you suffer. This creates a toxic cycle that can last for years. You begin to modify yourself to adapt to their emotional limitations. You stop sharing your joys to avoid being diminished. You stop asking for help to avoid being abandoned. You become a watered-down version of yourself, always on tiptoes, always careful not to disturb. You begin to censor your emotions. When something good happens to you, instead of exploding with joy, you hold back. You think, better not tell that person. Who knows how they'll react? When you're suffering, instead of seeking comfort, you suffer in silence. You think, I can't bother anyone with my problems. And so, slowly, you disconnect from your own emotional life. You become a stranger to your feelings. You lose the ability to fully rejoice and to ask for help when you need it. You become emotionally anesthetized. But the deepest damage is that you begin to doubt your judgment capacity. When you feel that dissonance, that sensation that something's wrong, you tell yourself, maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I expect too much for people. What you're experiencing has a precise name: emotional gaslighting. It's not classic gaslighting, where someone explicitly tells you you're imagining things. It's more subtle. It's when someone's behaviors make you doubt the validity of your emotions and perceptions. When you share a joy and are systematically diminished, you begin to think that maybe your successes aren't that important. When you ask for support and are systematically abandoned, you begin to think that maybe your problems aren't that serious. It's a form of psychological manipulation that operates at an unconscious level. The person subjecting you to it might not even be aware of what they're doing, but the effect on you is devastating. You lose confidence in your ability to perceive emotional reality. Probably, as you read these lines, your mind is already trying to justify the behaviors of that person you're thinking about. It's normal. It's human. It's the way our brain tries to protect relationships we consider important. Maybe you're telling yourself, but they've had a difficult life. Or, deep down in their way, they love me. Or, maybe I'm the one expecting too much for people. Listen to me carefully. Having compassion for others' difficulties is a virtue. But allowing someone to repeatedly hurt your feelings isn't compassion. It's emotional self-harm. You can understand why someone behaves a certain way and at the same time decide it's not acceptable for you. You can have empathy for their wounds and at the same time protect your own. These aren't mutually exclusive things. What you're feeling now as you read these words and recognize these patterns in your life is what Jung called the awakening of consciousness. It's painful, I know. It's like discovering that someone you trusted has been lying to you for years. But it's also liberating, because finally you have a name for what you were feeling. Finally you understand that you weren't the problem, that your sensitivity wasn't a weakness, that your intuition was right. This awakening can be accompanied by a series of intense emotions. You might feel anger for all the time you wasted, sadness for the relationship you thought you had but never really existed, confusion about how you failed to see these signs before. All these emotions are normal and necessary. They're part of the healing process. Don't try to suppress them or accelerate the process. Allow yourself to feel everything there is to feel. What you're going through is a form of grief. You're mourning the death of an illusion, the illusion of having a friend who never really existed. It's normal to feel disoriented, angry, sad. You might go through the classic stages of grief. Denial, maybe I'm exaggerating. Anger, how could they treat me like this? Bargaining, maybe if I change my behavior. Depression, I can't trust anyone anymore. Acceptance, now I understand who this person really is. This process isn't linear. You might jump from one stage to another, or remain stuck in one stage for a long time. It's normal. Be patient with yourself. Now you have a choice to make. You can continue allowing these people to occupy precious space in your intimate circle, or you can begin to protect yourself, establish boundaries, invest your emotional energy in relationships that nourish you instead of draining you. I'm not saying you have to cut all bridges tomorrow morning, but I am saying you have to stop expecting from them what they can't or won't give you. You have to stop pouring your love into broken containers. Maybe you can maintain a superficial relationship with these people, but don't give them access to your heart anymore. Don't share your purest joys or deepest pains with them anymore. Keep the most precious parts of your emotional life for yourself. This isn't meanness. It's wisdom. It's self-preservation. It's self-respect. While you learn to recognize false friends, it's important that you also know how to recognize true ones. A true friend celebrates your successes without envy. When you share a joy with them, their happiness for you is genuine and contagious. They don't feel the need to diminish you or warn you. They trust your ability to handle both success and failure. A true friend stays by your side in difficulties. They don't disappear when things get complicated. They don't minimize your pain or tell you how you should feel. They listen to you, support you, offer their presence even when they don't know what to say. A true friend accepts you for who you are, not for what you can do for them. They don't ask you to be different to deserve their affection. They don't make you feel like you have to walk on eggshells to maintain their friendship. As I close, I want you to make a promise to yourself. The next time you feel that dissonance, that sensation that something's wrong in a relationship, don't ignore it. Don't justify it. Don't convince yourself you're exaggerating. Trust what you feel. Your body, your mind, your spirit know how to recognize authenticity. They know how to distinguish between those who truly care about you and those who are just playing a part. You deserve friends who celebrate you without envy, who stay by your side without conditions, who love you for who you are, not for what you can give them. You deserve relationships that make you feel more yourself, not less, that inspire you to grow, not keep you small, that give you energy, not steal it from you. Being selective in friendships isn't snobbery. It's wisdom. It's recognizing that your time, your energy, your love are precious and limited resources. It's deciding to invest them in people who appreciate and reciprocate them. You might feel guilty at first. You might think you're being mean or selfish. But remember, you're not responsible for others' happiness. You're not obligated to maintain relationships that hurt you just to avoid hurting others' feelings. Your first duty is to yourself, to your mental health, your personal growth, your happiness. And this isn't selfishness, it's responsibility. And if while reading these words a specific person came to mind, that feeling you're experiencing isn't random. It's your inner wisdom that has finally found the words to express what it always knew. Now, you can no longer pretend not to know. And this, even though it hurts, is the beginning of your freedom. The freedom to choose who deserves a place in your life. The freedom to say no to relationships that drain you. The freedom to invest your love where it will be appreciated and reciprocated. This is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Awareness. And with awareness comes the power to change your life, one relationship at a time.